Donald Trump has told the media that he has a lot on his plate to deal with, that tech billionaire Elon Musk is the last thing on his mind. The two had a fallout in a fiery social media exchange after Musk criticized the tax bill dubbed by Trump as the Big Beautiful Bill.
I've been so busy working on China, working on Russia, working on Iran, working on so many things. I'm not thinking about Elon.
On the China. Do you have any plans to contact?
I hope he does well with this.
Do you have any plans?
Our international relations expert, Professor Gilbert Khadiagala, joins me now for some analysis. Prof, good to have you on. How much damage can the Elon Musk-Donald Trump fallout do to the world?
I think it's fairly contained for now because we are waiting for the second phase of the conflict. I think Trump may have to respond at some point to where do we go from here. That hasn't happened yet. So I think currently what we have is really a stalemate in the conflict between these individuals. And the conflict was bound to happen at some point because the two are very, very big egos, and egos are going to clash at some point. But I think what we should be waiting for is what comes next.
Yeah.
And I'm actually not convinced that this is a total rupture between the two. I think Trump may be waiting for Elon Musk simply to say, you know, I'm sorry. And there is very clear evidence in the past that Trump has forgiven his enemies. And so this relationship is too important to collapse at this moment, even though it doesn't seem as of now whether either of the two is willing to break that stalemate. But I think we still need to wait. I think they'll come back together.
Albeit contained largely in the U.S. politics, I suppose, and would create a bit of a challenge to the Trump administration. But how does this signal to the rest of us and to South Africa in particular in how Trump handles relations?
It is a predictable. I think Trump is a predictable individual. So if you have a fallout with one of your closest friends who's bankrolled your campaign, it shows that, in fact, that unpredictability is going to boil into international relations at large, because then the rest of the world probably cannot trust Trump anymore. But I'm saying this is not news. I think everybody knows that Trump is erratic, he's unpredictable, and he can do whatever he wants to do. So this kind of illustration of a pattern that has been with Trump since the first administration.
Does it add more pressure, I suppose, on him now in terms of the decisions that he makes, the bills that he signs? Many people would have looked, for example, at the special dispensation that he would have created for the Afrikaners in the United States, and whether those are things that will now be inspected closely.
I don't think he's going to move back on what he's already decided upon, because these are already decisions that are, quote unquote, now enshrined in law, law described as his executive orders to get Afrikaners to the US. So I think it will look bad for him to rescind those kinds of decisions. But I'm just saying, from here onwards, he doesn't really portray a very good image of Trump as a reliable partner. But I don't see him stepping back on some of these policies that he's already enacted. And I think it will look very bad. And I don't think he wants to do that. I think that's why he's telling the world that he's very focused on other things and he doesn't want to talk about the relationship between him and Elon Musk. Is more focused on global affairs, where he really needs to be focused.
What happens next as far as South Africa is concerned? What moves should they be making now? You have the richest person in the world fighting the most powerful politician, if you like, in the world. I suppose the longer it drags out, does that work to the advantage of South Africa? And can South Africa use that as some bargaining chip for things like whether Starlink should certainly be allowed to operate in the country?
I think if there is a total rupture, it will give a lot of room for South Africa, in fact, to bargain on issues like Starlink, because Musk has been pushing for Starlink given his proximity to Trump and therefore proximity to the government. If it now looks like he's a pariah within State House and is no longer a close buddy of Trump, it gives South Africans more room to say, wait a minute, do we actually need Starlink? And there was just actually a story today in the Washington Post about concerns about installing a Starlink terminal on the White House. And there is now discussions about how come Starlink was placed on the White House. I mean, the Starlink is being now demonized, actually, as a security risk in the U.S. And this will give more room for South Africa to rethink the legislation on allowing Starlink here on Musk's stamp.
Trump's presidency, of course, began with a strong boost from Musk, who is now possibly saying, I mean, others are saying he has taken off that tweet, but Trump could have been involved in the Epstein files. Could that create a damage into the Trump presidency, which began rather strong?
You see, that will depend on whether those are credible claims. There are already people asking how Musk obtained the information about the Epstein files, and other people thinking that probably he has the capacity to look through those documents since he's been close to power. So it's a very dicey moment for now, particularly since he brought up that issue that remains a guarded secret within the U.S. government. How did he get the information that Trump, in fact, was much more involved with Epstein than we already know?
And of course, the international world watching that would say it's not a new information about Trump. I suppose it has been said before that he could possibly be involved there. He's been trying to block those files from being released, but still was voted into government. So is that something that the international community can just shrug off and move off from?
I don't think the international community has any leverage on some of those issues that are coming up from the Trump-Musk rupture. As I said, these are fairly contained within the U.S. administration. There may be consequences if I think Trump is distracted from the bigger global issues that he has to manage, particularly the war in Ukraine and the issues around tariffs. That would be the concern now for the international community. Is Trump going to be sufficiently distracted by these scandals that are coming up, or the rupture with Mr. Musk, that he can't do his work sufficiently? That, to me, would be the worry of the international community, not whether the details of things like the Epstein file are correct or not. That, to me, is very secondary.
Prof, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. International relations expert there, Professor Gilbert Khadiagala, on that fallout, the bromance that is erupting quite publicly. However, be it contained in the United States, it certainly could have broader impact on the rest of the globe.